the little dog just bouncing up in. This is Chris Graham's sequence. He was one of the more expressive board artists on Zim. He was always trying to push the boundaries. He loved this anime called Giant Robo, which I introduced him to, and he tried to use as much of Giant Robo's sort of shots and cinematography in Zim. And it worked pretty much. He did a good job. He did a very good job, actually. We got slagged by a lot of other people in the industry for our angles and our cutting and just our sensibilities of filming. A lot of the industry was kind of amazed at it because we were very baroque with our choice of shots, but there's a good section of the industry that also really hated us. I never figured out if it was because maybe they couldn't do it themselves, maybe it was something they wanted to do, or they just seriously didn't believe that it was right. It's great. This is one episode where these two have to work together. This might have been, I think this might have been the first episode these two worked together to do something. It was a good turn. Usually a Zim against Dib, and then suddenly they're working together. In that great little montage. Originally here, I'll show you that Zim used to say "shut up." Shut up. It used to be "shut up." It was great. Richard Horvitz read the line beautifully. It was just an ad-lib, and we kept it in. Nick, again, of course, not liking that line. "Shut up" was too harsh, and well, we had to change it. A little nod to the Matrix. Jonah was always a big fan of the Matrix. Dressed like he was in the Matrix. Even had a car, a Dodge Neon, that he took the N off of, so it was a Dodge Neo. I love these final effect characters. Just disgusting looking sausages. I love that Zim has a little window reflection on his head. Actually, Dib does too. But what window is in Zim's lab that looks anything like that? I always love cartoon graphics. Just, you know what it means, but you don't really question its intention. They're also really fun, cute little characters because they just wobbled around. Sort of like little stuffed animals. Again, another ending that Nickelodeon hated. Actually, a lot of people hate this ending. Fans, there are a lot of fans that hate this ending. There are a lot of viewers that hate that ending. It just didn't resolve as well as they wanted it to. Ah, yeah, Game Slave. Eric Trueheart and Jonan. Yeah, Roman Dirge. This is one of Roman's premises, I believe, as it was, and rather nice his premises, I thought. This is Ray Angram's second show. Ian storyboarded since the first season. This is actually Ray's big sequence here, this whole game sequence. It was okay. Turned out pretty good. I forget if it was supposed to be a takeoff on something, like Devil May Cry or something like that. But, the writers always had a wonderful way of turning these sorts of situations into something a little bit more pleasurable. So it wasn't zombies, it was vampire piggies. And those pigs, when they're chomping on this guy, we suffered a lot of terror from New York over that. We finally eliminated one scene, which was a pig tearing the Slayer's cape. I guess they thought it would really frighten kids. I have no idea if the mail ever came back saying anything about that. I never even saw anybody on the internet complain about it. No parents have ever come up to me and said that it was too terrifying for their kids. Generally, the show just either hits or doesn't. I think all the violence and such is rather well played in the show. It's a little bit more gruesome than anything else that's for kids, but It's not horrible. It's not that bad. I mean, no blood, really. And, characters that are beaten or bruised never suffer for very long. They spend their moment of pain and recover. It was nice to have a story about Gaz. Jonan originally wanted... Well, he basically achieved it. He wanted to expand out on characters from the show. He didn't want to always spend time with Zim. Every few episodes, he wanted to have one episode that spent some time with Dib as Battle Dib or Gaz and Game Slave, and just explore these other characters. It was kind of refreshing to get away from Zim, I think. If it was always Zim, I think it would just have a little bit less depth. And some of these other characters were kind of rich to just have a story about their own little world, their own little dramas. And there was a good drama here. And Gaz's one passion in life, video games, well, aside from her passion to kill her brother, it's really well used. And this was sort of to mock or to play off of the PlayStation 2 craze that was going on and the Xbox craze that was coming up. Jonan loved video games. Well, he still loves video games, I'm sure. So luckily this wasn't written by old guys that had no interest in these things just because they needed to sort of keep in touch with kids. It was actually written by and storyboarded by a bunch of guys that play video games. I think everybody on the crew played video games. In fact, Jonah would always whip out a game system and put it in the main area of Zim, and people would play later in the day. They'd play video games together. And they actually got me into video games. I used to think it was such a waste of time, but when they had PlayStation 2 with Grand Theft Auto 3, I thought it was such a great game I had to go out and buy it myself. Now I'm back into video games again and wasting my life appropriately with them. This sequence was boarded by the underground sequence in the parking garage was always done by Todd Britton. He was a guy that I also worked with out east in my first job. Actually, he was the guy who got me into animation. Worked for Disney at the time and lived in my house in exchange for doing this episode storyboards. We paid him to do the storyboards, but he didn't really want to do it, and I basically switched off by giving him a place to stay. He was sort of in between places. Ended up, though, it was not really great stuff. We had to change a lot of it. Poor Todd. Poor us, actually. Poor Louie, our storyboard supervisor. I always thought this guy here was modeled after Tom Petty. This is where we really started to take off on Gaz with her cross-dissolved backgrounds. We cross-dissolve out to hell or piles of dripping shit or just anything to sort of exemplify her fear or anger or excitement. Iggins was a great character. Hard to draw, a very difficult character to draw, but very fun voice. And Jonan always wanted to be very odd. They're the dripping piles. We had to explain those as dripping piles of mud in order to get them passed through New York. But without much imagination, you can see what they really are. Jonan's names were Great Battle, Footy Kick. Or maybe they're True Hearts. I don't know. Can't remember who specifically wrote these little bits and pieces. Ray had done a lot of the earlier things here. I think Ray did all the mall sequence. Ian Graham started up around here doing the storyboards. And he really loved this. He wanted to do this horror sequence, something Hitchcockian when you get into Iggins' house. Never quite turned out that Hitchcockian, but I think it was pretty good. Oh. Yeah, you can just see how the film gets labored when these rat people come out. This whole storyboard being a little bit tragic in its execution. This perspective gets lost. Everything just gets cheap.